Hey guys, it's Sierra and I'm here today to teach you how to paint an oak tree. I have out my painting essentials that have a pencil, a waterproof pen, my favorite micron, a watercolor kit, some brushes, and I've got some water and a fresh paper towel. If you don't have this kit and have this specific oak tree drawing, you can just go ahead and look up a picture, use the pencil, and then trace it with a waterproof pen, and then you can begin. So today I'm going to use my round brush. This is a size 8, and I'm going to go ahead and get it wet. And to begin, I'm going to start with green. So I have this dark green right here. I'm going to get it wet. Put some over here so I can see the color. So this is a lot more green than I would like. I typically like more of an olivey color when I paint. So to get that color, I am going to add some brown. A little bit of brown right here. And it kind of gives you that greenish brown color that I like. And I want it to be a little more yellow too. So I'm gonna add in some of this ochre color right here. And you have that perfect green. Okay, so to begin, I'm going to see where I have all these lines. I'm just gonna start adding in some color kind of around the shadows of the lines. And I'm not adding any water to my brush yet. I'm just using all the pigment that I have because we're gonna really work with some layers here in the tree. Just keep on going around, and there's no right or wrong way to do this. Wherever you want to do it in there, you can go ahead and do it. And even behind this tree trunk right here is some green. So because it's behind it and it's a shadow, we want it to be the darkest green we can do. So we might have to do a couple layers, but let's fill it in right in here and behind. And so that way it can dry and we can add in a new layer. Okay, so now I'm going to let that sit for a minute. I'm gonna make another green. I want this green to be a little bit lighter. I'm gonna start with all the same colors I just did. This dark green, mix in this yellow, and it's a little bit it's bright, I guess you would say. I kind of want it to have a little more gray brown tone to it. So I'm actually gonna just barely touch this black, just a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. Kind of mix it in. And I am always mixing my colors. I just really like to. I just added more brown. I like specific colors in my mind, so you can play around with it. If this is not the color that you desire, that's totally fine. Just do it some sort of green. So now I'm going to go around with this new color that I have. It's a different shade, and it's a little bit lighter than my first one, and I'm going to kind of fill in. And it's okay if it touches your other green. That's totally fine. It will bleed a little bit, but I like that. So I'm basically going to fill in all of the white areas of this page. And as you can tell, sometimes when I put my brush down, it's a lot of pigment and a lot of water. That's okay. That basically when it dries, it gives us this really cool texture, which is another reason why I love watercolor, because it looks cool. It's just something different. Okay. And it doesn't even have to be perfect. I kind of like do this motion with my brush while I put this down like this and fill it out. And you'll see that the colors just really mix around. And I love to see that. Okay, so as we're doing this, the other colors are drying, which is perfect because we can add other layers. You definitely have to have dry watercolor in order to add another layer, like I've said, because it will bleed, and that's totally fine. And, you know, in some of them, I want dark here and light here. Then I would just get more water on my brush, move it around, and kind of let it sit there for a second. And it's even okay if you have like little white spots in here. I love that look personally. Ooh. Okay, so I'm gonna grab some more of this paint. Just kind of keep adding in some dots, a little bit of texture. You know, the leaves kind of like look like little, essentially polka dots when you would do it like this. You use the tip of the brush and lightly do that, and it kind of gives it that leaves texture that we want to see. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I just really like just a little bit here and there. Now, my paper is super wet right here, so it's going to take a minute for that to dry. So I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to work on a different part of the page. So we're going to come down to the trunk, and the trunk of the tree is typically a brownish gray color. So I'm going to get my brush really wet, make sure I've cleaned off as much of the green as I can. And it's okay that your water is green. It just gives it a little extra color. It's not a big deal at all. Okay, so I get my brown, bring it over here to the pan, and I'm going to add a little bit of black. And remember, when you're adding the black, you only need a little bit because it will overtake all the other colors that you use. Okay, and since I said it has a little bit of gray, and you'll notice my palette does not have white, but that's the beauty of watercolor, is that you don't technically need a lot of white. You just add more water, and we will work in layers. So I dry off my brush a bit, get a little bit of paint, and I'm gonna work on one side first. So I want it to be light, and kind of draw in a line right here. One side of it will be really light, and then I'll come to the other side and try and get more pigment on my brush, less water, and kind of fill it in here. And it will bleed to the other side, totally fine. We want that to happen. We just want one of the sides to look a little more darker than the other because it just makes it look like the shadow from the sun. So I'm filling in all these little lines right here, which would be the branches. Okay, and it's so simple, right? Okay, now I'm going to just fill in and make a really, really dark green to give it some more shadows and depth. So I'm gonna come over here, mix my green quite a bit. Then I'm gonna mix black. Remember, I don't need too much, but I really want this like shadowy gray green color. I'm gonna take it, and where I've drawn these lines, I'm just gonna add in a little bit here. Just kind of, and my brush is super wet, so it kind of bleeds, but I like that look. It's okay if you don't like that look, you don't have to do that. I just think it gives it the little extra oomph that it needs. And you can wash it off a little bit, get more water, kind of dab it around, gives it that leaves texture. All right, and that's pretty much it. You could let this dry and add in more layers depending on how in depth you want your tree to look, but essentially you just work in layers with watercolor. But I'm going to be finished with mine now, so I am going to take my Micron and of course sign it with my name, and then we have finished the tree. So if you don't have a painting essentials kit, we will link it below, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll be back with some more videos here soon, and can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Thanks.